Kristen, and I want to personally applaud you on your decision to advance your career in the rewarding psychology field. As you know, the first step to a successful career in this field is passing the psychology licensing examination, also known as the EPPP, which stands for Examination for Professional Practice of Psychology. Admittedly, studying for the EPPP can be daunting. Many students can become overwhelmed and are left wondering how to take their first step. This video is designed as a roadmap to help you navigate the test preparation process and hopefully answer a few of your most pressing questions along the way. In the end, you should have a greater understanding of where to begin, how to prepare, what types of questions you'll encounter, and of course, how to answer those questions. So let's go ahead and get started. Where do I begin? That's a great question. One of the best ways to begin is to familiarize yourself with the general exam overview. The EPPP is a 225-item multiple-choice objective test. The word objective refers to the scoring and indicates there is only one correct answer to each question. Objective tests rely heavily on your skills to read quickly and reason out the answer. Since your exam is multiple choice, success on the exam has largely to do with your skills as a test taker. It's our experience that being a good test taker can add an average of 15 to 20 points to your score. The EPPP concentrates on 8 sub-disciplines in psychology. Academic review breaks these down into 12 content areas, which include the following major headings: clinical psychology, diagnosis and psychopathology, ethics, developmental, industrial organizational psychology, neuropsychology, and learning theories. The scores of the exam are reported as scaled scores, ranging between 200 and 800. The ASPPB has recommended the passing score be 500, which is equivalent to 70% correct of the scoreable questions. Of the 225 questions, 200 will be scored, and 25 will be pre-test. Pre-test questions are those that are analyzed after you finish the exam to determine whether they should be included as real exam items on future versions. How do I prepare? While there are many good answers to this question, the best answer is this: practice, practice, practice. Have you ever become panicked during an exam because you realize that you're running out of time and may not be able to answer every question? This is a very common problem. It's usually caused by spending too much time on difficult questions. Here are some helpful tips to overcome this. First, practice taking the exam ahead of time. This is why we developed Exam Center and Exam Advantage. The power of Exam Center and Exam Advantage is that it allows you to closely simulate both the content of the exam as well as the format of the exam. This will make you completely prepared to pass your exam. Second, learn to mark those difficult questions. Making the decision to skip a question should be done quickly. Simply mark the question and move on to the next one. Be sure to review all your marked questions at the end. I often get asked the question, why do I need to take so many exams in Exam Center? This is an important and valid question. Why should you spend so many hours taking our practice exams and answering hundreds of questions? Simple. Practice makes perfect. An essential component to success on your exam is to practice taking the exam. When you take and retake academic reviews, online exams, you're building good test-taking skills. By taking the exams, you turn this act into something more automatic. This taps into your implicit memory. Implicit memory is a type of memory where you put into practice all your previous experiences. This concept arises from priming. Priming facilitates implicit memory by providing you clues to recall the information. The presentation of this information, provided that you have seen the concept before, will result in choosing the correct answer. This is the goal of Academic Review's online exams. We want you to become so familiar with taking these exams that you won't even have to think about it. Be sure to contact us to get your Exam Center account set up as soon as possible. We also have study packages that include Exam Center and Exam Advantage. The sooner you begin taking your online exams, the better prepared you will be for your exam. Another question you may have is, what types of questions are on the exam? You may encounter a variety of questions on your exam. We cannot say for sure what they may be. However, I'd recommend that you become familiar with 3 types of questions: recall questions, note key phrases or words, and double negatives. First, let's look at the straightforward recall question. A recall question asks you to retrieve specific information from memory. This may sound simple enough, and it can be. This will be your first objective during your study process. Learn the information at the recall level. Here's a practice question from one of our exams in Exam Center. It requires you to recall the information you learned about this concept. A straightforward question with a straightforward answer. The term success identity is associated with. This type of question is asking you to recall specific information about William Glasser's reality therapy. Success identity is when an individual is capable of fulfilling his or her own needs for survival, power, belonging, freedom, and fun. The individual does this without infringing on the rights of others. Without even reading the answer choices, you should be able to identify this term and connect it to William Glasser. In other words, you must be able to recall the information. Here's another test-taking strategy that you can apply to almost every question you encounter. After reading a question, be sure to note any key phrases or words. Negative statements are often used and contain qualifiers like, all of the following are true except. By noting the word except, you will be less likely to make the careless mistake of forgetting it. Let's take a look at another question from Exam Center. A woman who's been abused by her husband comes to therapy. What would a family systems therapist do first in this case? A. Invite the husband into therapy. B. Teach her how to manage her husband's anger. C. Find out if the woman is currently safe from abuse and, if necessary, rehearse an escape plan with her. D. Explore patterns of abuse in her family of origin. The correct answer is C. Find out if the woman is currently safe from abuse and, if necessary, rehearse an escape plan with her. The key word in this question is first. The first concern, in this case for a systems therapist, as well as any other therapist, is to ensure the client's safety, and only choice C addresses this issue. Another type of question that I recommend becoming familiar with are double negatives. A double negative occurs when 2 forms of negation are used in the same clause. A double negative is used to negate a negation, and therefore it resolves to a positive. This creates the equivalent positive statement. For example, let's take this question. Which of the following is not a disadvantage of a repeated measures design? We are going to focus only on the question. You're really looking for the advantages of a repeated measures design. The question states, which of the following is not a disadvantage? This is clearly a double negative question and should clue you into looking for a positive answer choice. Now that you are familiar with the types of questions you may encounter on your exam, let's focus on how to answer the multiple choice questions. This section will provide some helpful suggestions on how to improve your odds of choosing the best answer choice. You may encounter some questions with opposite answer choices. This is what we call echo options. The answer options are almost a mirror of one another, with only slight differences. Let's take a look at an actual exam center question. This question has two options that appear the same, but they vary slightly. Each of the following statements about SSRI discontinuation syndrome are true except A. Discontinuation symptoms have a typical onset of 1 to 3 days after use of the antidepressant is stopped and can be relieved within 24 hours by restarting antidepressant therapy. B. The symptoms can be mistaken for physical illness or relapse into the treated illness, thereby promoting unnecessary long-term treatment. C. Discontinuation symptoms are more likely to occur in patients who take an SSRI with a shorter half-life than in patients taking an SSRI with a longer half-life. D. Discontinuation symptoms are more likely to occur in patients who take an SSRI with a longer half-life than in patients taking an SSRI with a shorter half-life. I want you to focus on the last two answer choices. These are examples of an echo option. You're drawing from your test-taking skills. Now remember, this question is twice as tricky because it has the word except at the stem of the question. This will clue you in to search for the actual incorrect answer about the research of SSRI discontinuation syndrome. The correct answer is D. Symptoms are more likely to occur with an SSRI with a longer half-life. This statement is not true, which is what the question asked. Now it's time to take action. Hopefully these test-taking strategies have provided you with the necessary information to jumpstart your exam preparation. Academic Review is here to assist you each step of the way. As the leading provider of examination preparation resources since 1976, Academic Review has partnered with thousands of psychologists to successfully navigate the road to licensure. Be sure to call our toll-free customer support line at your convenience. They'll take the time to explain our home study programs, which include our online exams, concise study volumes, audio CDs, and flashcards. We also offer 4-day seminars, hybrid seminars, and virtual online workshops to fit any lifestyle and schedule for you, the mental health professional. Or speak with one of our knowledgeable education consultants to set up a personalized study schedule. The consultant will outline the best route to pursue based on your learning style, study history, and current test-taking skills. We look forward to being your partner for exam success.